So today's topic is we have to assess the risk factors that would lead to post-operative hepatic dysfunction or post-operative hepatic failure or increased risk of post-operative hepatic dysfunction. Okay, so what are the risk factors that would increase the post-operative hepatic dysfunction? If there is asymptomatic increase in the pre-operative liver enzymes, or if the patient is already having acute hepatitis or chronic hepatitis or steatosis or steatohepatitis or cirrhosis, or it also depends upon the type of surgery the patient is undergoing. So first we will discuss about the patients who have increased pre-operative liver enzymes and the patients are asymptomatic. So we know the liver enzymes are ALT and AST. So either of them can be increased. Either ALT can be increased or AST can be increased. So when the increase is less than 2 times of the normal, then and there is normal alkaline phosphatase, normal bilirubin and normal INR, then we can proceed with the surgery. If it is less than 2 times of the normal, this less than 2 times of the normal is considered to be a minor elevation. Okay, and if it is more than 2 times the normal, then we have to take history of drug use or alcohol use, and we have to rule out whether the patient is alcoholic or taking some drugs which can affect the liver function and which can cause rise in liver enzymes if it is more than 2 times of normal. And we have to, after taking history, we have to repeat the test, and in repeating the test, if it is less than 2 times the normal, then we can proceed with the surgery. However, it is again, if found to be more than 2 times of normal, then we look whether ALT is more than AST or AST is more than ALT. So when ALT is more than AST, it is viral hepatitis. We have to go for viral hepatitis screening. That means various antibodies, IgG, IgM antibodies, we look for the various viral hepatitis. And then if AST is more than ALT, then we rule out the alcohol use or drug use. I have remembered AST and alcohol as S stands for sharab. So alcohol and sharab are same thing. So AST is more than ALT, then we have to rule out the alcohol and drug abuse. Okay, and we have to also do the formal assessment with the help of ultrasound, computed tomography, liver biopsy before the surgery. Okay, and then if this was about ALT and AST. Now if ALT or AST is increased, either of them is increased or both of them is increased, and there is abnormal INR, then we consider it as a hepatobiliary dysfunction, and we do again the formal assessment before the surgery. Now coming into ALP, alkaline phosphatase. If this enzyme is increased, then we again look for less than 2 times normal or more than 2 times normal. If it is less than 2 times normal, then if there is normal GGT and bilirubin, then we proceed with the surgery. So less than 2 times normal rise in ALP plus normal GGT and normal bilirubin, we proceed with the surgery. However, if it is abnormal GGT or abnormal bilirubin, then we consider it as a biliary disease, and we go for formal assessment before the surgery. So this is asymptomatic patient with abnormal liver function test. Now in liver, if we are predicting for liver dysfunction, then we should know what we have to look for in history and examination. We have to rule out the renal liver diseases. So in history, we look for what symptoms? Liver disease symptoms like fatigue, anorexia, nausea, vomiting, biliary colic, pruritus, fever, dark colored urine, platypnea. These are advanced features: platypnea, dyspnea in upright position. If these things are present, fatigue, anorexia, nausea, vomiting, biliary colic, pruritus, fever, then it warrants further evaluation. And if there is history of chronic hepatitis, family history of Wilson's disease, hemochromatosis, alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency, diabetes mellitus, hyperthyroid or hypothyroidism or previous transfusion, there could be risk factor for liver disease. Then in drug history, we ask for vitamin intake, herbal medicine intake, homeopathic medicine intake, alcoholic intake, illicit drug use, tattoo, then sexual promiscuity, raw seafood consumption, because these are the infectious hepatitis risk factor: tattooing and sexual promiscuity and raw seafood consumption. In physical examination, we look for icterus, palmareedema, spider angiomata, gynecomastia, hepatosplenomegaly, ascites, peripheral edema, encephalopathy, altered sleep-wake cycle, halitosis, parotid enlargement, asterisk. Okay. Coming back into the liver function test, we are going to deal with the enzymes in detail. This ALT enzyme is specific, L for liver and L for specific for liver, ALT. Okay. And AST enzyme is non-specific. It is same AST ALT which is found in other conditions also, so you can remember it's same and common thing. And L for liver, it is a specific. Okay, so what happens in alcoholism, ALT synthesis is decreased and there is damage to mitochondria leading to increase in AST, because the AST is found in both cytoplasm, it is found in cytoplasm as well as it is found in mitochondria. However, ALT is only found in the cytoplasm of the hepatocytes, and AST is found in both mitochondria and cytoplasm. So alcohol decrease the ALT synthesis, damages the mitochondria, so it causes release in AST and AST is increased. So AST ALT ratio would be higher, so in alcoholic liver disease. And if ALT is more than AST, then we go for viral hepatitis screening. Coming into the ALP is again, this is non-specific. Okay, ALT was specific, ALP is non-specific. Synthesis by the biliary epithelial cells and increase in found when the ALP is increased when there is bile duct obstruction. GGT is non-specific, synthesis by biliary epithelial cells and hepatitis. Look, GGT has 2G, so 2 means it is found in both the biliary epithelial cells and hepatocytes, and it is increased in the hepatobiliary disease. AST, ALP and GGT, all these 3 enzymes are non-specific. Only ALT is specific, and GGT is found in both hepatocytes and biliary epithelial cells. ALP is found by synthesized by the biliary epithelial cells. Now when both the ALP and GGT is increased, then we have, as we told earlier, it was biliary disease. When ALP and GGT is increased, it is biliary disease. Look here, when ALP is increased and abnormal GGT or bilirubin, that is biliary disease. So it could be either extrahepatic bile duct obstruction, or it could be intrahepatic cholestasis from infiltrative disease like sarcoidosis or carcinoma. Carcinoma can be primary carcinoma or metastatic carcinoma, or drug induced cholestasis. Extrahepatic bile duct obstruction, extrahepatic cholestasis, intrahepatic cholestasis, drug induced cholestasis. Okay, so these are all biliary disease. And this, when both ALP and GGT is increased, it can distinguish between the hepatic and the bone cause of the rise in ALP. As I told you, ALP is non-specific. However, ALP when increased with the GGT, it becomes specific from the liver, for the liver. Coming into bilirubin, all we know that unconjugated bilirubin, when it is increased, either it is hemolysis or Gilbert syndrome. Conjugated bilirubin is increased in cholestasis and hepatocellular dysfunction. Albumin is decreased in long-standing liver disease or severe liver disease, malnutrition. And PTINR is increased in hepatic dysfunction due to impaired synthesis of essential clotting factors 2, 7, 9, 10, which are the vitamin K dependent factors. Okay. Now this vitamin K is depleted when there is fat malabsorption syndrome, because vitamin K is fat soluble vitamin. Okay, so it is decreased in malnutrition and malabsorption. Now one important thing is that this half-life of these 4 factors 2, 7, 9, 10, half-life is less than 24 hours. So what happens is that INR responds rapidly to change in the synthetic function, because it is only half-life is only less than 24 hours. So it is more sensitive than albumin as an index of hepatic synthetic function. Okay, more sensitive index. Synthetic function of the liver we assess is by looking at albumin, but INR is more sensitive. because it rapidly undergo change. It rapidly predicts the change in synthetic function. Then acute hepatitis, whenever there is acute hepatitis in a patient, elective surgery is postponed because there is increase in mortality, there is increase in risk of hepatic failure. So is with the steatohepatitis. It is also associated with increased risk of post-op liver failure and mortality, and that too especially after the abdominal procedure. Okay, when there is chronic hepatitis enzyme elevation, then it should be thoroughly evaluated prior to the surgery. Chronic means more than 6 months in liver disease. Okay, and then chronic hepatitis cirrhosis cannot be differentiated from the steatohepatitis or steatosis based on labs or imaging. So liver biopsy will differentiate it. Chronic hepatitis, the risk of this risk depends upon the risk of post-operative hepatic dysfunction in chronic hepatitis depends on the severity of the chronic hepatitis. So we are done with the asymptomatic increase in liver enzymes, we are done with the acute hepatitis, steatohepatitis, and we are done with the chronic hepatitis, and we are done with the liver function test. We are done with the history and examination in the liver diseases. And then coming into the cirrhosis. So cirrhosis per se is a major risk factor for non-hepatic surgery. Then to correctly assess the risk of cirrhosis, we do the MELD scoring. MELD scoring will predict the perioperative mortality. Mortality in whom? Mortality in cirrhotic patient undergoing non-transplant surgery. MELD scoring also predicts mortality in TIPS, that is transjugular intrahepatic portosystemic shunt. Mortality in TIPS, perioperative mortality in cirrhotic patient. MELD score predicts survival in end-stage liver disease, that would be cirrhosis only. So survival and mortality in TIPS and perioperative mortality. And MELD score uses CBI, C for creatinine, B for bilirubin, and INR. Okay, and then there is child Turcotte-Cook scoring, which uses parameters that does not include creatinine but includes bilirubin and INR, and apart from that albumin is included, PT is included, SIT is included, and encephalopathy is included. Okay, then elective surgery in child Turcotte-Cook scoring, elective surgery in CTP class C patients is contraindicated. Okay, and elective surgery is avoided if the INR is increased or bilirubin is decreased, or there is evidence of preoperative hepatic function, or if there is encephalopathy. Then laparoscopic surgeries are preferred over open cholecystectomy in cirrhotic patients, and preoperative decompression of the portal hypertension by TIPS may improve the post-operative outcome. Okay, then elective abdominal surgery avoided if the diagnosis of the cirrhosis is made by chance at the time of the surgery. We avoid the elective surgery. Okay, then we are done with the cirrhosis also as a risk factor. And types of surgery. What are the types of surgery that predispose the patient for post-operative hepatic dysfunction? Abdominal surgery. So why? Because in abdominal surgery the splanchnic bed manipulation is there, so prostacyclin induced dilatation of veins occurs, which decreases the portal blood flow and the hepatic artery blood flow. So there will be increase when the portal blood flow and hepatic blood flow will decrease, so there will be ischemia in the liver, and there will be liver dysfunction, raised in liver enzymes, there could be liver necrosis also. Then hepatic resection in the hepatocellular carcinoma. Now liver failure is the most common cause of death after surgery, after this surgery, hepatic resection in the HCC. So what we do, we limit the hepatic resection, and that limitation is based on the degree of hepatic dysfunction. If the hepatic dysfunction degree is high, then we limit the hepatic resection. Then cardiothoracic surgery also, there is high mortality. Cardiopulmonary bypass, there is increased hepatic dysfunction. Okay, so this was all about the risk factors for post-operative hepatic dysfunction. What are those? That is asymptomatic increase in liver enzymes, then acute hepatitis, chronic hepatitis, steatohepatitis, steatosis, cirrhosis, and type of surgery like abdominal surgery, like cardiothoracic surgery, cardiopulmonary bypass, then hepatic resection in hepatocellular carcinoma. These are the risk factors. Okay, thank you.